to the Most High, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and apostles, and the Holy Spirit who taught us his truth. Honors to the brethren that's doing the work to push the gospel, risking their life and freedom to do so. Peace and blessings of the hopeful elect, of the true Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians who are seeking their salvation by returning back to the Most High. So, not sure what I'm going to title this lesson, but we're going to address a comment that a scoffer left on one of my pages. And the reason the Lord had people say dumb stuff is so that we can do a lesson on it and edify the sheep. And the reason we do lessons on it is because nobody's thoughts are original. If he has this same belief, there's others with that same belief. So we're going to correct it and show why it's incorrect according to the scriptures. So leading up to this, he was talking about reincarnation, which in the Bible is regeneration. He said that reincarnation is taught in the Bible. That's correct. He said it was taught by the first churches, which is incorrect, because he's saying that reincarnation was taught in the New Testament. But reincarnation go way back even to the Old Testament. So reincarnation in the Bible is not a new teaching. It's not just taught about in the New Testament. It's even in the Old Testament as well. Let's read this. What this means is that the meat suit you have on now is not you. So what he's saying is the flesh is not us, but the spirit is really us. That's not all the way correct. Yeah, the spirit is really us, but where is our spirit kept? It's kept in this flesh. This flesh is a house for the spirit. Because where is the spirit kept at? In your pineal gland, in your brain. So yeah, this flesh is us to a certain extent because it houses our spirit. And the spirit that you really are has had many different meat suits of different colors throughout the ages, which means that your Hebrew Israelite nonsense is just that nonsense. So what he is saying that, how most of the world see reincarnation is that you could come back as anybody. If you a man, you could come back as a woman in the next life. Or if you a woman in this life, you could come back as a man in the next life. Or if you a so-called black man in this life, you could be a Chinese man in the next life. Or if you a Edomite, a white man in this lifetime, in your next life, you could possibly be an Israelite. That's what he's trying to say. And it's true that we had many different meat suits. It's true we've been many colors throughout the ages, through mixing with other colors and complexions of people. Now, what we got to understand is the Father carries the seed. When you read the book of Numbers, the children of Israel were counted and separated according to the house of their fathers. So the Father carries the seed. So it don't really matter who you mix with. You go back, who you are is determined by your father's lineage, no matter who you mix with. Also, too, it don't matter who you mix and mingle with. Don't matter how many times, it don't matter who you mix and mingle with. The spirit never changes. The spirit don't change. You can't mix the spirit. So if you an Edomite, you're going to be an Edomite in your next life. If you a so-called black man, you're going to be a so-called black man in your next life. And some people, they take reincarnation as far as to say that people can come back as animals or plants in their next life. And that's foolishness. Because the spirit is forever. The spirit don't die. The spirit does not change. No matter what your meat suit or your flesh look like, the spirit doesn't change, and that's according to the lineage of your fathers. And then we went on going back and forth talking about the word reincarnation. He kind of broke it down, but not all the way, which is not even worth reading. But y'all can pause and read what he said. But I pretty much told him he was an idiot because he's sort of getting disrespectful. But this is the breakdown of the word reincarnation. So re means back. That's why you got the feature on the VCR and the DVD player. You can rewind, and on some remotes and on some VCRs, it may say rewind or playback. So re means back. Even DJs, they may say, hey, run that back, meaning play that song back over again. So re means back. In is literal, inside. So car is short for carnal, which means flesh. Then even in Spanish, the word for flesh or meat is carne. Again, the word for flesh or meat in Spanish is carne. So if you're cooking some meat in Spanish, you will say, I'm going to cook, some carne. So carne literally means flesh or meat, and nation is obvious, nation. So reincarnation, you will be back in the flesh of your nation. So you're going to come back in whatever lineage you came from previously. You're going to go back into that lineage, into that bloodline. And that's pretty much the breakdown here. All right, so I guess we're going to get into the precepts. So we're going to hit Job. So I guess a few more remarks is what this person is saying, it doesn't matter about the Lord having a chosen people. People are going to come back as different people and possibly even different creatures in their next lifetime. But we're going to show, that ain't true. And because the Lord, that wouldn't be fair and that wouldn't be just if that was so. So this is Job 34:29. When he giveth quietness, who then can make trouble? When he hideth his face, who then can behold him? Whether it be done against a nation or against a man only. So when the Lord judges you, he can judge you individually as a man, and we face our individual judgments daily. And the Lord can actually judge you as a nation. So the Lord can judge the whole lineage, the whole bloodline of an entire people. And we're going to hit numbers. We're going to hit on, let me see. We're going to hit Numbers 14 and 18. The Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. So yeah, the Lord will punish the children for the iniquity of their fathers. So what? If your father do something, the children can be punished for it. So if if Israel did something, when Israel was being wicked, the Lord would punish the future generation of the Israelites. So what? When the Israel die and come back, they're gonna come back as an Israelite to receive that punishment. It wouldn't be fair if the Lord had other people come back as the people he are punishing. But more on that. Let's get to the curses of Deuteronomy. Let's talk about how the Lord punished Israel as a nation. Let's talk about how the Lord visited the iniquity of the fathers of Israel upon the children of Israel. See if we can paint that picture more clearly. So this is Deuteronomy 28:45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee. This will be the curses of the Israelites, the curses of Deuteronomy. The Lord said, the curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy God, to keep his commandments and keep his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be assigned upon, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Which forever in this case just means for a very long time. And because it seemed like we've been getting punished from the Most High forever. But see here, it said the curses will pursue us, and the curses will be a sign upon our seed, meaning upon our children, forever, meaning generation to generation. And that's known in the world as generational curses. Generational curses affect the same people because those people die and come back as the same people. And those generational curses will be on the children of Israel, being the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. So it would be upon our seed, our children, from generation to generation. Now, keep in mind here, it said that the curses would pursue us. So what he's trying to say without saying it is that, white people can escape judgment. All they got to do is die and come back as another people or come back as another creature. But you can't do that. It says that the curses will pursue thee. And this is talking about Israel, but this is not limited to Israel. Because the Lord won't just judge Israel as a nation. The Lord's going to judge all nations. And whatever judgment the Lord has written out for a particular nation, well, guess what? That judgment is going to pursue that nation just as the curses pursue Israel. Now, we want to get this word pursue in the Blue Letter Bible. And it says to be behind, to follow after. So yeah, when it said the curses will pursue us, well, the curses will follow after us from generation to generation. The curses will follow us, lifetime after lifetime. Why? Because generation after generation, lifetime after lifetime, you're going to come back as the same people. You're going to come back in that same, to that same nation, to that same bloodline. So yeah, these curses, they will follow us even after death. And we're going to show that. So we're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy 28:19, which is the same chapter, the curses of Deuteronomy concerning the Israelites. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in. Cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And it's the same amongst our people. I bring you into the world, and I take you out of the world. So the Lord is saying here, cursed will we be when we come into the world. Meaning when we're born, we're going to be born into the curses. And cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. Meaning when we die, we're going to be born into the curses and we're going to die under the curses. And not just in that lifetime, but lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation, for whatever said amount of time. Which, according to Genesis 15:13, I believe the curses will be around 400 years, 400, 500 years. So cursed shall thou be when thou comest in to the earth. Cursed shall thou be when thou goest out of the earth. And guess what? You come back every third or fourth generation, going back to Numbers 14 and 18, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children until the third or fourth generation. So the Lord will visit the iniquity of a particular individual on his great-great-grandchildren. Why? Because that particular person is his great-great-grandchildren, going 3 or 4 generations down the line. So 3 or 4 generations down the line, when you come back into the earth, you're going to be born, you're going to be under the curses. When you leave the earth, under the curses. When you come back 3 or 4 generations later, you're still under those curses. So That's showing Deuteronomy 28:44 saying that the curses shall come upon thee and pursue thee. So the curses will pursue us wherever we go in the earth. You know, the same nigga they call us in America, they call us niggas over there in China. The same oppression we face in the white man society, whether it's America or Europe, we face that same oppression elsewhere in Asia, India, etc. But the curses will not just follow us to different countries, but it will pursue or follow after us lifetime after lifetime. And that can only be accomplished is if you come back into that same genealogy, that same lineage of people. So you don't die and come back into a completely different nation. The Israelite man is not going to die and come back as a Chinese man. A woman is not going to die and come back as a man. A so-called Edomite can't die and magically come back as an Israelite. It don't work that way. So now we're going to hit Deuteronomy 30:1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord Yahweh have driven thee. So what? The curses will pursue us to wherever we were scattered to. They will pursue us all over the earth and pursue us lifetime after lifetime, generation after generation. But see, it says here that the Lord's people under these curses, that they will call the curses to mind, you know, generational curses. So it would be people who suffered the curses, they will call them back to mind. And even Esau's studies, he showed that through his science that this is true, that we as a people were permanently damaged from the curses. You know, we have a trauma that nobody else can relate to. So, for example, why do so-called black people, why do we, when we start laughing real hard and start bugging out, what we do? We cover our mouth. Why is that? Because we wasn't allowed to laugh openly during times of slavery, going back a couple hundred years. Look up the laughing barrel. You know, it was a sign of disrespect if we would laugh in front of white people. So a laughing barrel, we have to stick our head in the barrel and laugh in there so nobody could see us laughing. So yeah, so we have a trauma that, and not just so-called blacks, we have a trauma that nobody else as a people can relate to. And Esau has even, you know, seen that on mice. Oh, why do our hearts start beating when the police get behind us? Nobody else can relate to that. Because what was that police going back many generations? It was the slave master on the horse chasing us down. So that's that same trauma. Whether it's a slave master on the horse or it's an Edomite in a police car, it's the same trauma. It's the same stuff. So nobody else can relate to what we suffered. That's why we able to call the curses to mind everywhere we've been scattered. Because we the same people today that suffered this stuff way back then and still suffering it now. You know, we weren't Edomites in the previous lifetime. And the Lord had it set up that way because he's a just God. You know, a man will have to receive of the wrong that he's done. Men and women will have to receive of the wrong that they've done. I can't think of the precept off the top of my head, but also in the law, it says, you know, nobody else will pay for our sins. So we pay for them, you know, whether the Lord touch us right then or he touch us 3 or 4 generations later. And we talked about it from the perspective of being Israel. Now we're going to talk about it from the perspective of being Edomites, you know, who the Lord hates. So going back to Deuteronomy 28:45, again, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee. Key word pursue. This is dealing with Israel. But let's see this word pursue dealing with the wicked, dealing with Esau, Edom, the white man. Because just like our curses will pursue us, well, Esau is going to be pursued. So this is Ezekiel 35. We're going to start at verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. Mount Seir is dealing with Esau, Edom, who are so-called white people today. Mount Seir, Esau, Edom, same people, different name. Genesis 36 and 8. Set your face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. And then when we, let me see. We're going to go down to verse 5, verse 4. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate. Thou shalt know that I am the Lord, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. And in certain translations, it says an ancient hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their calamity had an end. So Esau has always, shed our blood from the beginning, going back to Cain and Abel. And verse 6 says what? Therefore, as I live, says Yahweh, the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So just as the curses pursue Israel from generation to generation, when we come in the world and when we go out of the world, when we come back in generations later, curses still pursuing us all over the earth. Well, guess what? All the blood that Esau Edom has shed is going to pursue him. Here at the end of his rulership. So now when we hit Isaiah 14 and 21, this makes sense. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So yeah, this is dealing with Esau, the white man. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. George Washington, Christopher Columbus, the conquistadors, the Romans, the Greeks. Prepare slaughter for their children because they here today. The Greeks, the Romans, Christopher Columbus, the conquistadors, the colonizers, who are all white people, Edomites. Well, guess what? Their children are Edomites today. And really, Christopher Columbus, George Washington, the conquistadors, the old slave masters, they back today. There were white people back then, and they back today to get ready for this slaughter that they did going way back. So again, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. And in the spirit, the children of the Edomites, the children of the slave masters today, they really the slave masters going way back. It's just, every third or fourth generation. So those slave masters are back. Christopher Columbus could be back. George Washington could be back. The conquistadors, the colonizers, they are back. To get ready for this slaughter that's coming their way. That's that blood pursuing them. So what? Going back to Ezekiel 35 and 6, concerning Esau, Edom, Mount Seir, blood shall pursue thee. Well, those who are unlearned, they would think Christopher Columbus got away. They would think George Washington got away. They would think the slave masters, the conquistadors, the colonizers, it would seem that they got away because they lived a prosperous life and didn't receive judgment. Well, that blood, their judgment is pursuing them. That's why the Lord said, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So really, prepare slaughter, prepare blood for the blood they shed way back then, because they here today. The scripture says there's no remembrance of former things. So they shed that blood, they just don't remember it. But whether they remember or not, the Lord about to slaughter them. And also too, when we hit Isaiah 14:2. Matter of fact, we gonna sidestep real quick. We're gonna hit the book of Revelation 13:10. That's why it says here, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And when you read the journal of Christopher Columbus, he said he couldn't even put his sword down for an hour. So around the clock, every hour of the day, he was killing somebody, chopping their nose off, chopping their arms off. So he lived by that sword. So again, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. That's that blood pursuing them. What's that nigga? Damn. Christopher Columbus killed millions of Native Americans. So what? All that blood is going to pursue him in this lifetime, and he's going to receive judgment for it. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So everything that George Washington, the slave masters, all the lynchings, all the hangings, police brutality, the conquistadors, the colonizers, all that blood they shed from them using the sword, well, guess what? The Lord about to use the sword against them, and they about to get slaughtered. So they didn't get away. So Christopher Columbus can't come back as a Chinese man. George Washington can't come back as an Israelite, a so-called black or Native American man. So it's only fair and it's only right that they come back as the same people they were when they shed our blood in the first place. They're going to come back as the same people they were when they did iniquity. And because dealing with Israel, we have to suffer for the sins of our ancestors. We still paying for them today. So guess what? Esau, Edom, and really every nation, they got to pay for the sins of their ancestors here when the Lord brings judgment. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. This is not limited to this lifetime. So the slave masters, that took us from the west coast of Africa, brought us to America. The conquistadors that enslaved the Central and South Americans. They led us into captivity. They're going to go into captivity in this lifetime. Why? Because Esau, Edom, who are white people today, they're going into captivity. So it will only be right as the white people who enslaved us as white people back then, they come back as white people today to go into that slavery. There's not going to be no slave masters, George Washington, coming back as Israelites. That wouldn't be fair. And then when we hit Isaiah 14:2, the people shall take them and bring them to their place. The house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord, which is the kingdom of heaven. We're going to possess them for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. We captives now, but we were captives even way back then. They didn't get away. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, what we just read in Revelation 13:10. Well, guess what? They're going to go back into captivity in this lifetime because what the earth calls reincarnation, which is regeneration, is you coming back into the earth. Well, guess what? They're going to come back into the earth for judgment. They're going to come back into the earth to be killed by the sword because they killed us with the sword. And who's ever left remaining, they're going to come back into the earth to go into captivity because they led us into captivity. Because the curses, our judgment, didn't just pursue Israel. Everybody's judgment is going to pursue them from generation to generation, lifetime across lifetime. So they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. How unfair would that be if Israelite man who's excuse me, how unfair would that be if a slave master came back as an Israelite, you know, to inherit the kingdom of heaven? It wouldn't be fair. Or if an Israelite, you know, a man of the Lord, he died but came back as an Edomite. So he was a righteous Israelite, but he came back as an Edomite. Now he in slavery. That don't match up. Because the spirit doesn't die. The spirit never changes. The book of Hebrews tells us that the things that we see were made by the things we see not. So our flesh, our body, although it may change different colors, but we know there's really no such thing as mixing because the father carries a seed and you go back to your father's lineage. So the flesh is really just a manifestation, a reflection of the spirit. The spirit never changed, no matter who your father mixed with, no matter what color woman they lay with. You know, you are who you are according to your fathers. All right, so we're gonna hit this Jeremiah 13 and 23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard change his spots? Then may ye also do good that are accustomed to do evil. So yeah, you know, can the leopard change his spots? Can somebody change their skin? No, but Esau Edom has given people the ability to change their skin. So no matter how you change your skin, you can't change who you are. You know, you can't change who you are because you can't change your skin. How you gonna change the spirit? How you gonna die, you know, as a so-called white man, but come back as a so-called black man in the next lifetime? How you gonna die as a woman and then come back as a man in the next lifetime in reincarnation? How you gonna die as a man and come back as a dog in the reincarnation? You know, this is talking about something physical, something that we can see. If you can't change the things that you do see, how can you change the things that you see not? You can't change the spirit. You can't even touch it. So yeah, spirit never changes. You are who you are, and you've always been that. Now what's this next precept? We're gonna hit Isaiah 59 and 1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save. So what this is saying, the Lord is not limited. And we're gonna see that upon the salvation. We're gonna be gathered not only in America, but worldwide. You know, people think that the Lord's mercy, divine intervention, the miracles is limited to the ancient world. No, the Lord's hand is going to reach and save us here in the future, which the future is now. Neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear. You know, the people think the Lord in a coma. You know, he retired. You know, he not getting active no more. But we're going to flip this precept real quick. Behold, the Lord's hand is shortened. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save. But on the flip side, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot execute judgment. So yeah, the Lord's hand ain't short. The Lord is not limited to judging you before you die. The Lord can judge you after you die. You can't escape the Lord's judgment by death. You can't escape the judgment of an Edomite by death. You're going to come back as the same Edomite. You're not going to come back as an Israelite, as a Chinese man, as a dog, as a flower. Again, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, but also the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot execute judgment. So you can't flee the wrath of the Lord by reincarnation. Let me kill myself so I can come back as another people. Let me kill myself so I can come back as another creature. No, you're going to come back into that same lineage. You're going to come back into the same nation because reincarnation back in the flesh, back in the body of that nation. So yeah, the Lord's hand is not shortened. You know, it's not limited by death or regeneration, what the world calls reincarnation. Because your judgment is going to pursue. Just like the curses pursue Israel, just like the blood is pursuing Mount Seir, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. No, that judgment is going to pursue you. It's going to be waiting on you when you get back here on the earth. So we're going to hit this last precept. Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, 18:3, who governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. For he is the king of all, by his power, dividing holy things among them from profane. So the Lord is controlling the whole world with the palm of his hand. So you can't escape judgment by death and being reincarnated into something else. All things obey his will, including the spirit. The spirit don't change. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much the lesson. So, yeah, you do have many meat suits. You know, you come back and you may have a different complexion or a different color, but the father carries the seed. So, whatever your fathers are, that's who you are. And again, there's really no such thing as mixing because you can't mix the spirit. You can't change your skin. Leper can't change his spots. You can't change the spirit. The Lord's hand is not shortened or limited by death or reincarnation. Your judgment, the curses will pursue you across lifetimes, across generations. You can't escape the Lord. So yeah, the Lord has a chosen people. He loves Jacob, and he has the people who he hates. Esau, the so-called white man. So us being a chosen people is everything. Because at least we're not the people who the Lord hates, because there's no escape for them. So that's it for this lesson here. Lord willing, it was edifying. Till next time, Shalom.